This is the Diamond Hogs Podcast with Mason Choate and Robert Stewart.
Welcome to the Diamond Hogs Podcast. I'm your host, Mason Choate, joined by Robert Stewart Jr. He is a junior. And we have a great show for you today. We finally got some guests on. We have former Razorback Matt Goodheart on the show. Told a great story about Kevin Kopps, and I promise you don't want to miss this.
Got to stick around.
It's so good.
Entirely worth your time.
It's so good that I've told people about it, and I didn't tell them the story because I said Matt is going to tell it so much better. I cannot tell you what he said because then I'm just going to ruin it when you listen to it.
I don't think I've ever had a tougher time holding in laughter. I mean, that was good stuff.
It was good stuff, and he also gave us a lot of insight on the Hogs and just how things are working inside that building. So
we're certainly hoping he'll be back later in the season because we didn't get to very many of our questions at all. But
yes, and then we also have David Folse, who covers LSU baseball for TigerDetails.com. That's their rivals website covering LSU. So rather than us breaking down LSU, we brought somebody who actually knows about the team to talk about them, so you can know what to look out for.
Yeah, it's going to be very interview-driven today. We'll tell you a little bit about the Pine Bluff doubleheader. Not much to talk about there, but we'll give you something. But yeah, stick around for those interviews because they're very informational and educational and also entertaining.
You just made it sound like you're going to go to school. Very informational and
baseball
educational.
School. I want to go to baseball school.
Oh my gosh, you just ruined all of it by saying that. You know.
Okay. Fine.
Also, I had somebody tell me, I'm not going to name drop, but I had somebody tell me that I'm way funnier than you on the podcast. So
you're more of a natural at this.
They said sometimes he just doesn't get your jokes, and I was like, that's not just on the podcast. That's in real life. For those of you wondering what our relationship is in real life, it's this. This is our relationship. So
we don't put on faces just for this.
Yeah, but we have to remind you where you can find us, and that's on hitthatline.com. We're part of the Hit That Line podcast network. Very thankful for that partnership with them, and we're thankful for everybody who listens through the Hit That Line podcast network. So if you don't, you can find all of the recaps for Arkansas on the Hit That Line podcast network that Robert writes. So if you missed the game, go check that out. And also go to the Twitter. Robert's always got the live updates except for against UAPB. I was actually looking for the live updates against UAPB and you weren't doing them, so I had to go to Stat Broadcast.
It's kind of busy. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I understand.
It's a midweek thing.
I understand. So anyways, there's also a lot of other content over there. So go to hitthatline.com or type in Hit That Line wherever you get your podcasts. Also, you can find us on the HawgBeat YouTube. Yes, okay. That pause was for Robert to point or wave, and he finally did it. So we're on the HawgBeat YouTube, and HawgBeat is where you can find the best coverage of Arkansas athletics around. Andrew Hutchinson. Nobody does it better than him. I mean, Hutch just, from the time he wakes up to the time he goes to bed, he's working on content. I know that for a fact. And he gives you the best content you could possibly need, and I help out here and there. Also, if you're wanting an update on Pro Hogs in the minor leagues, I just put a story out about that. That seems to be something that people really enjoy. So go to HawgBeat.com, and you can see where all your favorite former Razorbacks are in the minor leagues and how they fared last year. So, and also, if you're a student, it's $11.95 a year if you email Andrew Hutchinson 413@gmail.com. So that is very much worth it. All right.
Also worth mentioning, we're on social media now.
Oh, yeah, we are on social media. You can follow us. Robert, you're the social media coordinator.
Yes, so we've got a Facebook page. You can follow us at Diamond Hogs Podcasts. Very straightforward there. On Twitter at Diamond Hogs Pod, and I believe Instagram is Diamond_Hogs_pod. So check us out on those three platforms. We'll be posting some pretty regular Twitter content because that's what we're native to, I would say. And we'll have episode announcements out there on Facebook and Instagram for sure. We'll try to post some video clips on Facebook, certainly a little bit more as the year goes along and we get some more time once school ends. And got to figure Instagram out because the aspect ratio is a little bit different, but we're on social media, so give us a follow if you're on those three platforms.
Yes, and we are brought to you by
Barley and Vine, our good friends up there in Bentonville. They're located at 113 West Central Avenue, Suite 103 in downtown Bentonville. They're a craft beer tap room. They've got 32 different beers on tap. very cool setup over there in Bentonville. They got a little open window. It's going to make it really nice, a really nice place to watch some games in the summertime or leading up to the summertime. They've got an array of wines as well, red, sparkling, white, whatever your heart desires. They've got TVs, multiple TVs. You can watch 1 game, 2 games, 3 games. You can play games. They've got shuffleboard. They've got darts. They've got board games. They've got some older video games. It's a really cool, cozy atmosphere up there at Barley and Vine. Definitely recommend you go and check them out if you just want to get a drink and you're in Northwest Arkansas. It's one of the better places to do so. So, again, that's Barley and Vine there at 113 West Central Avenue, Suite 103 in downtown Bentonville.
And then we are also brought to you by Toll Sports Management. We posted where you can get the shirts on our Diamond Hogs podcast Twitter, and we had some people actually go and get shirts. So you should too if you're listening to this. There's some awesome gear you can get. It's what was it? Store Frontier / Toll Sports, I think. Because I have this wrong link on here. I just need to update it. Anyways, they represent athletes. It's Mackenzie Toll. She represents athletes to make their mark both on the field and off the field. She's partnered with some Razorbacks. It's Michael Turner, Brady Webb, Heston Toll, Isaac Bracken, and Matthew Maugre. And they've partnered with this design company where they can print out these shirts for their name, image, and likeness. And they're really cool. The Turner Time ones are sick. We talked about the release of the Bracken ones. And they're very affordable as well. So it's storefrontier.com/tollsports. You're helping your favorite athletes. And Mackenzie Toll is, she's doing great things and she's trying to do bigger things. So go help her out as well. Related to Heston Toll. So you're helping out a Razorback by relation. Just ignore the fact that she went to Ole Miss. So
right.
I probably shouldn't have mentioned that, but I feel like it's an important detail.
Well, I mean, she's doing good things for Razorback athletes. So.
She is, and that's the most important thing. Razorback athletes, not Ole Miss athletes. So, like I said, storefrontier.com/tollsports. Thank you, Toll Sports Management.
I believe you can go to Michael Turner's and Heston Toll's Twitter pages. I think they retweeted us the other day. So
yes, you can do that, or just go to the Diamond Hogs Pod Twitter page as well.
May have to scroll down a bit, but
okay. Let's see here. I guess we got to talk about UAPB.
Yeah, there's not much to say. I mean, 15-0, 6-0 victories in 7 innings, short and sweet. Nearly a no-hitter in Game 1. Cole Ramage, Elijah Trest, and Isaac Bracken, the senior righties, combining for 7 shutout innings.
Wait, are you telling me that Dave Van Horn released the Bracken?
That's what I'm telling you.
Bet.
Nice. He released the Bracken, and Bracken very, very nearly released the no-hitter, but gave up a 2-out double in the 7th inning. Who was it last year that they were playing a 7-inning game? It was Lyle Lockhart in the SEC tournament against Georgia. They were about to run rule the Bulldogs, and so they were going to cut it after 7 innings. And he was an out or 2 away from the no-hitter. Do you remember that?
Yes. Vaguely, I remember that.
Anyway, another 7-inning no-hitter. Very close, but no cigar. Anyway, 5 strikeouts for Cole Ramage. He was 9 up, 9 down. Got his first win of the year, so good for Cole Ramage. Heard from him in the post game yesterday. Said he's, Matt Hobbs basically just told him to trust himself, get back to his 4-pitch mix. He felt like he was relying a little too heavily on one pitch during his struggles. So if Ramage can mix his pitches consistently, then maybe he's a more reliable option out of the pen.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people were slightly upset that Cole Ramage was starting that game. Why are you going to start Ramage? He's been here for 6 years. Why don't you start a younger guy? But I think that there's some value to having that confidence for Cole Ramage because, as Dave Van Horn said himself, they're not super confident in the guys in the bullpen. So what do you do about that? You throw Cole Ramage out there to start a midweek, and like you said, he goes 9 up, 9 down. Yes, it was UAPB, but moving forward, he's thinking, well, last time I went out, I went 9 up, 9 down. Let's just keep it going. As long as he doesn't get anybody on base, which is what we said, it's exactly what he did, he's just fine.
Right, and that's the second straight time he's done it, too. I mean, like we said, a little bit of a caveat with the last game. He was down 5-6 runs against Florida, but he still retired all 9 hitters he faced. So
I found the Lockhart thing, by the way. Arkansas was up 10-0 with the run rule effect in the top of the 7th. And with 1 out to go, it was broken up. And
was it a no-hitter or a perfect game?
I think it was a no. Oh, perfect game. He started the inning with back-to-back strikeouts before an infield single.
Oh, that's right. It was an infield single.
Which was followed by a 2-run home run, and that put an end to what would have been the first perfect game in program history. Man.
Of course, there would have been an asterisk because of 7 innings, but
yeah,
that's crazy.
But then they end up playing 9 innings, so that.
Oh, that's right. Georgia scored.
So he went 7 innings, and gave up before the home run and the infield single. He went 7 innings, no hits, no walks, 11 strikeouts,
mowing them down.
Yeah, but then he ended up with 7 innings, 2 hits, 2 run, both earned. 11 strikeouts. And then Heston Toll came in, cleaned things up, got 4 strikeouts over 2 innings.
I would argue that that's more impressive than what the seniors did Tuesday against Pine Bluff. However, Dave Van Horn was like, you know what? Doesn't matter who you play. We pitched good. That's what matters.
Yeah.
And that was verbatim. I would have said well if I were him, but.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah, big day for the pitchers. Big day for Brady Slavins. He was 4 for 5 in the first game, had a couple of homers, scored 3 times, and drove in 6 of the 15 Arkansas runs. Who else had a good day? Braden Webb had a homer. He was 3 for 4 in the first game, drew a walk. Jalen Battles was 2 for 3, scored a couple of times. On the day, Jalen Battles was 5 for 6. He almost had as many hits as Brady Slavins.
Yes, I'm now officially making April 12th Brady Slavins Day.
I saw your tweet about that.
Yes, April 12th is Brady Slavins Day. So next year, let's all remember together on April 12th, it is Brady Slavins Day.
What Brady Slavins did on April 12th, 2022.
Yes.
Yeah, big day. Continued into the second game. In 12 innings at the plate for the Razorbacks, Brady Slavins hit for the cycle. He had a couple of singles, a double, a triple, and a pair of home runs as well. So he finished the day 6 for 8, double, triple, 2 home runs, 9 RBIs, and 4 runs scored. Is that good?
That's pretty dang good. That's actually really good. That's very impressive. Doesn't matter who your opponent is.
Right. And then Jalen Battles was 3 for 3 in the second game as well. He had a single, a double, and a triple. Didn't get a 4th plate appearance, but was coming close to the cycle in 6 or 7 innings. So big day for him in the 7-hole. Did he hit 7th? Yeah, he hit 7th both games. And, it's worth noting that Brady Slavins, A, played first base both games, and B, hit out of the 2-hole, which we talked about being cursed on this last episode. So perhaps the curse is on its way to being broken.
I don't want to be that guy, but I'm going to be that guy. I could play baseball for UAPB. I really think I could. If I would have stuck with it in high school, I probably would have gotten an offer from UAPB. Just saying.
Yes, it's worth noting that the opponent is not of a very high caliber. So that's why I said, is it on its way to being broken? Because I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, he went 6 for 8. It's broken.
Speaking of which, our good friend of the podcast, Pete D'Alessandro, he posted this stat for Dylan Leach, and I feel like it's a good time to say it.
Yeah, it is. Dylan Leach had a good day. He was 2 for 4 in the first game, had 3 RBI, so staying hot.
So Dylan Leach, this is a comparison versus when he's played in-state competition versus when he plays any team not from Arkansas.
And I believe this is in his 2 years.
In his 2 seasons as a Razorback. When he plays teams that are in-state competition, he has 33 at-bats, 364 average, 447 on base, and 818 slugging. He's got a 1.266 OPS, 3 home runs, 10 RBI, and 27 total bases. So that's very good. Very good. When he's playing anybody outside of the state of Arkansas, he's got 35 at-bats, so 2 more at-bats. He's got a 143 average, a 375 on base, and a 171 slugging. No home runs, 3 RBI, and 6 total bases.
6 total bases.
Yeah.
And 35 at-bats.
And 35 at-bats. So when he plays in-state teams, he didn't get on base only 6 times in 33 at-bats. When he plays teams not in-state, anybody not from the state of Arkansas, he didn't get on base in 29 of his 35 at-bats.
Wow. Well, didn't get a hit.
Well,
that's a better way of phrasing that.
Okay.
But point taken. That's pretty impressive. Shout out to Pete for that one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Also, before we get too far away, from this topic, would you be able to post a photo edit of yourself in an Arkansas Pine Bluff jersey?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
I'll do that. Remind me after we're done.
Okay.
I will do that. Okay, so I mean, we don't really have to break down these games, do we?
No.
Okay.
No, I won't do it because I wasn't there to watch most of those innings yesterday, so not going to bother.
Okay.
Big wins, shutout wins.
Will McIntyre.
Will McIntyre is
Will
the
McIntyre,
other storyline. First appearance since right before COVID hit, which is insane to think about. 3 innings, gave up 5 base runners, 2 hits, 3 walks, struck out 5 as well. Did not face any trouble. He loaded him up there in the second inning with 2 outs, but got a ground ball to shortstop, and that was that. So
Arkansas had 16 strikeouts in that second game.
yeah, 16 of the 21 outs they recorded were on strikes.
Well, the pitchers, not Arkansas's batters.
Correct.
I should clarify.
Zach Morris worked an inning, struck out the side. Mark Adamiak gave up a hit, picked the guy off, struck out the next 2 guys. Gabriel Starks struck out the side. Nick Griffin struck out the side.
That is so crazy, dude.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I could throw on a UAPB jersey, go up to bat, and strike out. Like, if that's what you want me to do, I can do that. I might be able to make contact, foul one off, and then strike out. And I would be just as good as any of those other guys in the lineup. That's what I'm saying.
After the dude got picked off at first base in the 5th inning, the next 8 guys struck out to end the game.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, it's good that those games were 7 innings. I'm also very happy that I don't go cover midweek games.
I don't know if I could have sat through 4 more innings of that.
Well, I posted after the game, like, there's no point in playing the second game. The only reason you play that game is to get Will McIntyre and Nick Griffin and Gabe Starks, like those guys, some playing time. There is no competitive value to that game.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it when the news broke Monday that they were going to play a doubleheader. We were like, why not just play 9 on Tuesday and call it a day?
Yeah.
But pitchers got their work in. It was a good day for them, so take that for what it's worth.
Yes. Okay. What else did we want to talk about? I feel like there was like a stat or something we had. If not, let's do an ad read real quick.
Yeah.
And we can go ahead and get into our interviews.
All right, sounds good. So we're brought to you by Barley and Vine. By now, you probably know that. They are located up 113 West Central Avenue, Suite 103 in downtown Bentonville. They're a craft beer tap room. They've got 32 different beers on tap. They've got an array of red, white, and sparkling wines. They've got games. They've got food from the first seat. I forgot to mention that last time. Great menu from their other bar next door. Like I said, games, darts, shuffleboard, board games, plenty of TVs to watch games. It's great atmosphere to go have a drink and watch whatever game you want to watch, whether that's Razorback baseball or something else. But gotta get back with Trisha and the folks up there about doing another watch party for the A&M series next week.
Yep, that's the plan. Very thankful for Barley and Vine.
Yes, they are Barley and Vine, again, located at 113 West Central Avenue, Suite 103 in downtown Bentonville.
And Toll Sports Management, they are sponsoring us. They're sponsoring us this week. Toll Sports Management, like I said, they represent these athletes, not just NCAA, but also Major League Baseball athletes. Mackenzie Toll, she's the founder. She's an athlete agent. She's representing these Razorback athletes. Once again, Michael Turner, Braden Webb, Heston Toll, Isaac Bracken, and Matthew Maugray. And if you want to support any of them, you can go to storefrontier.com/tollsports, and you can find any of the stuff that you want. The koozies are cool. I might need to get one of the Bracken koozies on top of the Turner Time shirt. And you should get some too. The Heston Toll one where he's pitching and it's got his signature, that's really cool. I like that one. And then, like I said, the Release the Bracken, like, I'm kind of regretting my decision not getting that one. But it's okay. Can't take it back. I might just have to get it as well.
Right. I mean, you've been a Michael Turner guy from day one, so.
Turner Time. We've both been. This podcast has been a Michael Turner podcast from day one. I feel like we've kind of grown distant from him. Maybe we should have him back on.
Maybe.
It's been so long.
By the way, for our listeners out there, Mason has been working hard on a new video.
Yes.
So be on the lookout for that.
I felt like the Gregory Moneyball video, as great as it is, I don't want it to get old and people just get tired of it. I don't want to overdo it. So we worked hard trying to figure out what can we do and who can we use. That sounds bad, but whose
likeness can we use in a video?
Whose likeness can we use in a video? And we landed on Michael Turner, so be on the lookout for that this weekend. I'm going to assume that he's going to do something. So, yeah. Okay, let's get to our first interview, and it is with David Folse from TigerDetails.com, and he's going to catch you up on LSU. I will put out a disclaimer. I think he might have been at a playground.
It's a possibility, but very much worth your time if you want to get the lowdown on LSU, who just came off a sweep at Mississippi State.
Yes, he had great information. Just ignore the kids in the background. It's hard for me because I'm like, I don't like it.
That's the thing, is Mason's ultra nitpicky about this because he's an audio guy, but I think it will be tolerable for the general public, but we shall see.
Okay. Here is David Folse.
You're listening to the Diamond Hogs Podcast with Mason Choate and Robert Stewart.
Okay, we now welcome on David Folse. He covers LSU baseball for TigerDetails.com. That's the Rivals website for LSU. David, first of all, thank you for coming on. Second of all, we'll start broad. I want to ask you just what is the identity of this LSU team? Because it seemed like early on they're just going to score more runs than you. But has that changed, or what do you kind of sense from this team at this point in the season?
This team still has no identity. First off, thanks for having me on, fellas. This team still has no identity. This team, we don't know. And that's the biggest question. I wrote about this. Until they figure out who they are, we don't know how good they can actually be. I don't know if this team can outscore you, because then they could go to Florida and Auburn and score, 3-4 runs. But then this is the same team that goes to Mississippi State and puts up double-digit runs, and then puts up 5 runs with 2 outs in the top of the ninth inning against Mississippi State. The only thing we know about this team right now is that they are a bad fielding team. That is the only thing we know about this team.
Gotcha. So one of the big stories of the offseason, it seems like, was Jay Johnson coming over from Arizona, and it feels like I saw a lot of former Wildcats come to Baton Rouge with him. What's the story there? How many guys did he bring, and has that shaped the identity in any way?
Kinda, and no. I know that's a broad answer. Bryce Collins came over, young arm, had gone through Tommy John and then a wrist at Arizona. He's finally starting to come into his own. Riley Cooper is his rubber arm, man. He can throw. You'll probably see him throw 3 times this weekend against Arizona. Big left-hander, like 260, coming out of the bullpen. And then, of course, the stud is Jacob Berry, the freshman All-American, the freshman player of the year. Has seen time at third base, has seen time in right field, the switch hitter. He's the best, he's the second best hitter on LSU's team behind Dylan Cruz. Power hitter, but again, like I talked about, has struggled tremendously in the field.
Okay, so you hit a couple of the guys in the lineup there. Tell us a little bit about the LSU pitching staff. Do you know the rotation that it's going to be this weekend? Arkansas, it's been a consistent rotation all year. What about for LSU?
If the last 2 weekends, and we're basing it off of this because I don't know how y'all get to deal with coaches. We live in a world where Jay Johnson, there's a better chance of finding Jimmy Hoffa than there is that Jay Johnson's going to release his starting pitcher. Y'all are too young to realize who that person is, but I get that. We expect Mikael Hilliard to throw Thursday, Blake Money to throw Friday, and then the combination of Samuel Dutton and Grant Taylor to throw Saturday. Hilliard has been LSU's most consistent pitcher. He's not LSU's best pitcher. He's not LSU's most talented pitcher. But Hilliard will give you 4 to 5 innings, and then they go to the bullpen. If you want to know the one true identity of this team, you're going to see 6 to 7 pitchers, and that means you're going to see 6 to 7 pitching changes every game. A lot of people with rubber arms, and you're going to see a lot of pitchers through the entire time as Jay Johnson mixes and matches. There is no stud. I'm going to put him out on the first night. He's going to get us 7 innings of 1-run ball. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah, that was one thing Dave Van Horn was raving about after the midweek doubleheader. He said, LSU pitching, it's just on point right now. But shifting things over to the lineup, you mentioned some of the dudes from Arizona, Dylan Cruz as well. But it seems like there are a lot of returners. Trey Morgan, Gavin Dugas, and Dylan Cruz all come to mind. But are there some other key bats that Razorback fans need to know about?
Well, I mean, we can go through the lineup from the top. It starts with Dylan Cruz, best hitter on the team, probably the best hitter in the country. Shouldn't be in college. Gave up for some reason last year, decided to come to LSU and forego the Major League Baseball draft. And then you have Trey Morgan, Jacob Berry, Braden Jobert, the left-hander from transfer from Delgado, best power hitter on the team right now. Shortstop, you've got Jordan Thompson. And then you mentioned Dugas. Dugas is gone now. Dugas, in terms of disappearing from the lineup. So we may see him, we may not. He didn't play at all this past weekend against Mississippi State. And you saw a pair of freshmen on the bookends in the outfield, and Josh Stevenson and Josh Pearson. Pearson hit 2 home runs, drove in 6, SEC co-freshman of the week. So he's, I expect Pearson to be in right. And then I expect Stevenson, honestly, to be in left. And then behind the plate, you got Hayden Travinsky, because we don't know if Alex Milazzo is healthy or not.
Okay. I have this question. This is one that I like to ask. Is as far as LSU goes, what is the fan perspective of where they're at right now? Because for Arkansas, I think the fans are okay with it. There's been a couple games where, everybody's going to complain about the little things. But for LSU, is it like they're happy where they're at, or are they underperforming or overperforming?
Well, we've gone from this. We've gone from coming out of fall ball and the new hire of, oh my gosh, Jay Johnson is literally the best thing since sliced bread. He's going to take us to Omaha. We're never going to lose a game, and we're never going to be scored upon. That's where the fan base started. So when you start at that, there's problems. Then they go through the losing streak, and then you're talking about a fan base there. If LSU loses a game, is Jay Johnson the right hire? So it's really hard to judge with what the LSU baseball fan base is going to do here. I fell into the trap of, I thought this team was more talented than they are. They really aren't. Right now, this is a team that should host a regional and could, I think the ceiling of this team is Omaha, obviously, just because of the bats and like what you guys talked about. But the mean, like the average, should be that this team just, contends for a super regional bid, to be honest with you.
So looking at this 2 different ways here, I don't know how many opportunities you've had to watch Arkansas this year, but if you could pinpoint 2 things, where can you see the Razorbacks exploiting the Tigers this week, and vice versa?
Putting the ball in play, plain and simple. Make LSU field their position, and LSU has yet to prove this year that they can field their position. You put the ball on the ground. Sometimes if you just put the ball in the air, they won't catch it. If they put the ball in play and force LSU to field their positions, that's the biggest exploitation there. And for LSU, it's get enough. The offense will be there. It's got to be there a little more, because you have to assume 1 to 2 runs you're going to give up. That's how bad this team is defensively. 1 to 2 runs you're going to give up just from your own mistakes. So if you can get 4, maybe 5 innings out of starters, you've done the best you could. And then the offense, you'll just see what happens. But, I mean, Arkansas is coming off of losing 2 out of 3. It's Easter weekend. They're going to be, mad. And Baum Stadium is a tough place to play. Let's make no bones about it. It is a really tough place to play. LSU is going to struggle this weekend to get 1 or 2 wins this weekend.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. LSU is coming off of sweeping Mississippi State, so I was going to say, well, what do you think they're going to do against Arkansas? But it seems that you're not super confident, especially with them coming into Fayetteville.
Well, fellas, how good is Mississippi State? Answer me that. We really don't know. You go on the road and you sweep anybody in the SEC, that's a nice win. But I don't think Mississippi State's any good. I really don't. So is this the team that I saw lose 2 out of 3 from against Auburn at home? Or is this the team that, against Mississippi State? I just don't know. We're going to find out this weekend how good LSU really is, because Arkansas is good. Arkansas just had a down weekend against a Florida team that, whenever Florida decides to start playing baseball, they've got the talent to be able to be good. I can see that, we could see that Florida team in Omaha, or we could see that Florida team lose their first 2 games in a sub-regional against Coastal Carolina Tech, So I think it's a little bit of both. If LSU can come out with 2 out of 3, obviously it's a huge win. But if you avoid the sweep, you've got Missouri and Alabama after the next 2 weekends. I would consider that, the betting line.
While we're on the topic of Arkansas, LSU, and Mississippi State, I'm curious if you've had the chance to travel to Baum Walker, travel to Dudy Noble, and where you think those 3 ballparks, including Alex Box Stadium, stack up against each other.
Well, LSU fans are not going to want to hear this, and I grew up in the old Alex Box before y'all were born. Alex Box is not in the top 4 now in the SEC West. That's just fact of time. There's got to be a tremendous amount of money, and I'm betting Jay Johnson knows this too, that the facility improvements are coming to Alex Box Stadium. But, you've got Dudy Noble is really good. Baum has always been amazing. Bluebell Park is going through a lot of stuff at Texas A&M. But Dudy Noble is, it's the newest, so the newest is always going to be the best. It's like NFL quarterback contracts. Whoever signs the newest deal is going to be the highest paid until the next person signs a deal. So, this is the arms race.
All right. Robert, you have any more questions?
I'm good, man.
All right.
This was great. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, David, for your time, and hopefully maybe some point down the line we can have you back on if the Hogs and Tigers are matching up in the postseason.
Dude, we should do one from Hoover.
Yes, that we're planning on going. We'll see, but we're planning on going.
Too. And here's the coolest part. If we all get press passes, it's all the Chick-fil-A and Bluebell ice cream you can eat.
Oh,
perfect.
Yes. All right. We're sold. We're going. All right. Yeah, you too.
Thank you.
Bye.
You're listening to the Diamond Hogs podcast with Mason Choate and Robert Stewart.
Big thanks to David Folse. That was a lot better than us saying the stats, because we don't know we just read off of stat sheets. That's what we do.
That's why I love having opponent scouts to come on. I don't know if that's fair to call him that. But
he's not a scout. He covers the team.
I didn't mean to give us the scouting report.
I think you need to issue an apology.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Scouting report. It was a great scouting report from David Folse. Thank you.
Nobody tweeted at you, man. I was disappointed. I guess people like you for some reason.
Yeah, well, what did I have to apologize for this time?
Because you said Cole Ramage was bad, and now you need to double apologize for it because you went out there and went 9 up, 9 down. It's okay. Okay. Before we get to Matt Goodheart, I want to remind you about our sponsors. I'm going to do Barley and Vine this time.
Do it.
Okay, Barley and Vine. They're located at 113 West Central Avenue, Suite 103 in Bentonville, Arkansas. You already know that by now. But have you been there? That's the question. Because if you haven't, then you're missing out. You need to go to Barley and Vine. You need to get some drinks. And even if you don't want to get drinks, that's the thing. Like, even if you don't want to get a drink, you can show up, get a water, order some cheese curds from the first seat, play some shuffleboard, play some darts. They got TV. You can play some video games. You can play some board games. Like, this isn't a place where you have to go and you're required to get a drink. Like, I know that you don't want to always drink, but if you want to go hang out with your friends, it's a good place to do that. So
it's a great vibe.
It's a great vibe, and you can also get some great food from the first seat. They give you a limited menu, but if you want anything, just tell them, and they'll get it for you. They didn't have the Jack the Ripper burger, but I was like, I want Jack the Ripper. The burger.
And guess what?
The burger, not the person. The burger.
And Mason got that.
And I got that, and it was delicious, and you should get it too. You should get the cheese curds. If you don't like any of that, they have a lot of other options on the menu, like we talked about. So Barley and Vine. Robert.
Toll Sports Management is our other presenting sponsor, so thank you to them. They represent athletes looking to make their mark both on and off the field. From the NCAA to Major League Baseball, Toll Sports Management knows what it takes for full athlete representation, branding, and marketing at every level. Mackenzie Toll, the founder and athlete agent, currently represents 5 Razorbacks. That would be Michael Turner, Braden Webb, Heston Toll, Isaac Bracken, and Matthew Magre. Toll Sports Management has partnered with a manufacturing design company for each player to use their name, image, and likeness to create a personalized apparel. And Razorback fans can find that apparel at what website, Mason?
Storefrontier.com/tollsports.
There you go. Purchasing your favorite player's gear not only supports them athletically, but financially as well, because each player receives a percentage of the sales. So that's Toll Sports Management, who represents, educates, and creates. So thanks to Toll Sports Management for their sponsorship.
All right, and now we're going to get into a wonderful interview with Matt Goodheart. Please, please, please listen to the interview all the way through. The end is the best part. Here is Matt Goodheart.
The Diamond Hogs Podcast is the premier Razorback baseball podcast.
Okay, we now welcome on Matt Goodheart, former Razorback, one of my favorite Razorbacks of all time, to be honest. So I'm kind of fangirling right now on you, Matt. I'm excited that we have you on. My first question is just how much Arkansas baseball have you been able to watch this season before we start asking you more in-depth questions?
A pretty decent amount. I haven't seen every game. I've been pretty busy, honestly. I've just been able to I'll grab my phone and tune in whenever I can. But I've seen a pretty decent amount.
You're pretty busy. What's going on in your world today?
Man, where do I start? I signed with the Phillies in the offseason of last year, and went through the rest of the year with the Phillies, went through spring training. I got released by the Phillies a couple of weeks ago, and I'm now currently between teams, and sometime this week I will be signing a contract with an independent ball team in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Okay.
Could be before this episode comes out.
Yeah. Probably. Well, this episode comes out on Thursday. Is it going to happen before then?
Probably so.
Well, congratulations, man. That's awesome. That's what I was curious about, is what's going on with you, because I saw you got released by the Phillies after hitting, 381 in the rookie league last year?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. So what is your goal with that independent team? I saw the Phillies had you as a first baseman. Just what are you looking for moving forward with your career? I mean, we know you can hit the ball, but just what do you want to get out of that?
Honestly, it's just kind of one of those things that sets you up for a number of different options. It could be anything from that's where I end up playing for a while until I retire. They pay better than minor league salary. Minor league salary is not, it's not anything to write home about. It's hard to live off of, but there's that. And then a lot of position guys do get re-signed to MLB affiliates out of this league. This league's called the American Association of Professional Baseball, I believe it is technically, but there's several independent ball leagues across the United States, but this one's good about getting guys re-signed to affiliates.
So let's shift back to Arkansas for a sec here. You said you've gotten a chance to watch a decent amount of games. What have you been your big takeaways to this point? What's really stood out to you?
What's really stood out to me, I mean, I guess it's kind of the usual stuff, the cliche answer that it's a Dave Van Horn team. They're not going to go down easily, no matter who it is. They're not afraid of anyone going into any weekend, and they're going to play baseball. They're going to play baseball the right way, and they're going to have a team stacked full of talent. That's kind of what I take away from it, and that's what's going to be pretty much every year, I feel like.
So I think the story of the season has been the starting pitching, especially Connor Nolan. They're on the Friday nights, or Thursdays sometimes. So just what have you seen from Connor? Where have you seen him take a big step from your time when you went against him and inter squads and stuff like that? And have you seen him really get better at something specific, or is it just, we heard over the off season that he just completely revamped himself. So just what have you seen from him?
Yeah, from Connor in particular, he's always been a really good pitcher. He's always been, even in high school. I faced him once in high school whenever we were in. So he's a year younger than me. I believe that's right, a year younger than me. I faced him in. I'm not even sure what the event was, but we both got selected. Casey Martin was on my team. It was one of those showcases where it's like the seniors versus the juniors at whatever the showcase was in high school. And I had our team was really stacked that year. It was the batting order went something like Paxton Wallace, Caden Wallace's brother, me, Casey Martin, and we had a good offense. And we ended up facing Connor Nolan, Miller Plyman, and several of the other Arkansas standouts that are a year younger than us. And I remember facing both of those guys, and they're both really, really refined, really good pitchability pitchers coming out of high school. And, at that point, you never really know how those guys turn out in terms of progressing their stuff and progressing their velocity and those kind of things, the advanced pitch metrics and so on and so forth, which is something I'm pretty fond into. My last semester at Arkansas, I did advanced hitting and pitching analytics internship under a guy named Folse, who was the hitting analytics guy at the time at Arkansas. He's one of those guys that went quietly under the radar, but was a huge part of our offensive success. He is now one of the hitting coaches at UNC Charlotte. And shout out to Phil Sibuhar. Can't say enough great things about him. Terrific human being. Love him to death. But that being said, being there and getting that internship done, it really helped me learn a lot of that really, really intricate stuff when it comes to pitch design, pitch analytics, hitting analytics, you name it, and learning to apply it and use it to make us better as a team, make us better as a program. And one of the things, I without divulging too much about what makes guys good and what makes Nolan good and what makes us as an offense good, we take all that into consideration. And Nolan's always had really, really, I wouldn't say rare, but pretty different pitch metrics in terms of the direction that baseball's going. Nowadays, you see a lot of programs and teams kind of erring on the side of pitchers that have fastballs that have a lot of carry, really high. A lot of people call it high spin rate fastballs. The guys that throw fastballs that are hard and stay at the top of the zone, that you see these guys getting beat by and underneath all the time. And, your classic Trevor Bauer, Verlander stuff. And Nolan's kind of on the opposite side of that. He's kind of the guy that gets under barrels, kind of runs it away from guys, kind of the heavy, the cliche heavy fastball verbiage. And he always has had really, really good off speed. You've seen a really big breaker. He throws another breaker that's more side to side. He's always had a really good changeup, and that part's never really changed. The ability to make good pitches with other pitches other than his fastball goes a long ways. And outside of that, he's in the off season, he wasn't someone that I spent just a ton of time with. We knew each other pretty well, but nothing, we weren't just like besties or anything like that. But yeah, based on what I've heard, he really, locked in over the off season and made it clear to the coaches that he wanted to be as good as he can possibly be. And I have nothing but, respect for that. I have to tip my hat. Hey, you got after it this year, and it's really, you reap what you sow.
So I want to circle back. You talked a little bit about hitting analytics. Let's talk about Nate Thompson. I feel like one of the most common occurrences in press conferences is somebody will be like, "Hey, what was your approach on, in this specific instance or this at bat with these runners on base?" And then whoever is answering the question will go into, Coach Thompson this, Coach Thompson that. What does he mean to Arkansas baseball?
Man, he's kind of the, set aside the recruiting part of it. He's kind of the glue that holds the offense together, I would say. Because obviously he does do a really good job of recruiting and getting really good hitters, right? But the part that goes overlooked is Coach Thompson's ability to unify 9 guys and really have them, buy into something and really have them go up to home plate with confidence and compete every single day. Coach Thompson does a really, really good job of I don't really know how to word it, going extracurricular and finding, seeing what guys do and, planning our attack, planning our attack 50-50 based on who they're facing and also what our strengths are as an offense. And I think that that's what makes him successful is him not erring too much on one side or the other. He doesn't get away from what the Razorback offense does, but also he doesn't put way too much stock and way too much thought into what the opposing team's going to do too, if that makes sense. Going into a game and just completely disregarding what Hunter Barco or Tommy Mace or whoever they're facing that day is going to do, I think would be not very smart. Coach Thompson knows that. He goes into the games, okay, here's Hunter Barco, here's the plan of attack, and here's what he does, here's how he pitches. This is what I think we should do, and that's how they address it. That's how they go after it.
Okay. I kind of want to stay on the topic of hitting analytics, and I want to talk about Moneyball and Zack Gregory. So Zack Gregory's an on-base guy. You were an on-base type guy. What do you think of Zack Gregory, and how is it that he just finds ways to get on base? And also, do you agree that he just gets on base? Is that a good way to describe Zack Gregory?
I mean, you mentioned the analytics portion of it. The stats say he gets on base, so I'm going to have to go with that. If it says his on base percentage is higher than that of a significant amount of the other guys, then that's what I'm going to say too. And I believe that's what they say. I haven't exactly looked at the numbers, but if Zack Gregory hasn't changed a whole lot, I know for a fact that he gets on base a lot. What he does is while he is aggressive on pitches in the zone, what he's good at is not going out of the zone, not hitting a pitch that the pitcher wants him to pitch or what the pitcher wants him to hit. And with that, I'm sure he averages seeing a lot of pitches per at bat as well. I obviously don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would venture to say that he sees quite a few pitches per at bat compared to some of the other guys. And, I think that bodes well into his approach. He's a guy that, despite what you saw from that last game, he's a guy that's probably not going to hit you 15 home runs a year, but he's going to get on base a lot. And there's always going to be a calling for guys that get on base a lot, no matter what. I don't care what era of baseball you're in, whether you're on a team like the Hogs who hit 100 home runs a year or what. If you get on base, you're going to find a spot in the lineup, and that's all there is to it. And I know Coach Van Horn way too well to know that he's not going to just, shovel that aside and put in someone that's going to hit 230 with, a dozen home runs. If Gregory gets on base and has consistently good at bats, he's going to be in the lineup every day. I know that for a fact because Coach Van Horn wants to win more than he wants to see someone hit one over the fence. He doesn't care if that's 9 guys bunting or if that's 9 home runs. I promise.
I can confirm that as of this recording in this interview right now, Zack Gregory does lead the team in on base percentage. So yes, he gets on base.
Do I care if you get a hit or a walk?
No,
Pete?
No, you do not. There we go.
Very nice. So, I love that.
So moving on a little bit, Brady Slavins. I want to talk about him. So I'll make this comparison. I don't know if you see it yet, but when you were at Arkansas, it feels like you were sort of confined to the DH spot, right? Because I don't know. Dave was always talking about this injury or that injury, so he didn't want to test you in the field at first or in the outfield or whatever. Feels like Brady Slavins is a little bit that way this year as well. I don't remember what injury it is specifically, not the ankle because that was too long ago. But how did you deal with that, staying confined to the DH spot, and how do you think he is dealing with that this year?
Man, I love Brady to death. He's one of the ones that I was pretty close with. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into that. The first part being I didn't play a whole lot of defense. There's probably a lot of reasons. it started off, I was playing a decent amount of outfield in 2019 before I did get hurt. And then I did get hurt, dove into first base, messed up my shoulder pretty good against Tennessee, if you remember. I ended up finishing out the year. I had a torn labrum and what's called a Hill-Sachs lesion, which is whenever I subluxed my shoulder, whenever I dove into first, the humeral head, the bone chipped whenever it came out. And all that being said, it made throwing pretty difficult. I couldn't do it at all until I had surgery. So obviously I was confined to DHing at that point. It was kind of low key, but I also wore like a really big brace to make sure that it didn't come out anymore the rest of that year. I ended up having surgery during that summer. The entire fall I missed that following year, which was the COVID year. We only played 15 to 17 games the following COVID year. Year went on. I mean, a year to the day after the surgery, I was still not throwing it real well. I couldn't really play anything other than first base. And, you know, we swing around another year and Slavins was better than me at first base. I'll just say that. You know, I was new to first base. I had never played it before until, you know, after the surgery had happened. I was working on it. I was getting there. I could field it. I wasn't great at throwing still at that point. To be honest, we didn't really know if I was ever going to be able to throw well enough to play in the outfield again. And time goes on. The beginning of this past year, I wasn't throwing it well enough to play outfield, but I could roll, you know, I could run around in the outfield. I could catch fly balls. I could probably throw well enough to play first base. We started out with Brady at first base, who, like I said, was probably better at first base or just as good. And we started winning. And, you know, Coach Van Horn, you know, if he's if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of guy. And, you know, we kept winning. So he's like, hey, you know, why change it? And sure enough, time goes on. We kept winning. And finally, we had a scenario I guess it was at Ole Miss on the second game where Doug Nikhazy started, left-handed pitcher. He, at the time, his opponent batting average versus left-handed hitters was less than 1. So Coach Van Horn started all right-handed hitters in that game. Honestly, there's a lot of reasons you could say that's why he did it, but the most important one was that, you know, guys, left-handed hitters were not hitting this guy at all. You could always make the argument that, hey, you know, we're not just every other left-handed hitter that he's faced this year, but at the same time, we came out with either the lead or close to it. I can't remember, but the all right-handed lineup had done well against him. But anyway, I remember pinch hitting, and sometime in the middle of that game, came into the game when they brought in a righty, and I ended up striking out and came back to the dugout, and Coach Van Horn was like, hey, how's your arm feel? I was like, I mean, fine. I was throwing a football earlier in the before the game started. We'd been throwing a football around, and turns out I threw a football better than a baseball at the time, which was definitely not the case before surgery. But whatever. It's throwing a football around, and it looked good. And I ended up throwing a baseball after throwing the football. Man, things look better. I could get into the science part of it, throwing the football thing, and how it made my shoulder feel and look better. All, you know, very short amount of time. But anyways, I digress. And I was like, man, it feels good. He's like, all right, good. You're going to left field. It's like, what? Left field? He's like, yeah, grab a glove. I was like, I don't have a glove. So I was like running around, Bates. At the time, Ethan Bates was there, and I throws me his glove. He didn't even have to hear me ask the question. He just knew exactly what was going on. Threw me the glove, and I ran straight up the left field with his glove, and played there and did fine. Ended up throwing out. It was a kind of a dumb base running decision, but one of their lower in the order guys tried to stretch a double into a triple down the left field line, and ended up throwing it to Battles, relayed to third, got him out, and ended up going well. So I was like, all right, I can't complain about that. Time goes on, I still DH quite a bit up until the SEC tournament, and that was when Slavins stepped on first and hurt his ankle pretty good. And what we decided to do initially was move Cullen to first base and Nesbitt to third. That was the best defensive alignment because both Cullen and Nesbitt could really play defense. There's no denying that. I mean, you go back to 2019 and Nesbitt, as an everyday starter at third base, only made like 4 or 5 defensive errors. That's incredible as an SEC infielder, no matter what position it is. You know, him in 2019, him and Ezel on the corners was, I mean, it was perfect. You know, they combined for less than 10 errors. That's unbelievable. And anyway, we did that. And the next day, Coach Van Horn decided that he wanted to do the best, I guess was the best offense he could do with the defense that he had, if that makes sense. So he ended up putting me in left field, put me in left field. I believe he put Cullen at first. And I can't remember who was in right field. He may have kept Wallace in right field and Nesbitt at third. I can't remember, but I ended up going to left field and played outfield for pretty much the rest of the year. And at that point, I was good enough to throw from the outfield. I still don't have quite all the juice that I had before I had surgery, but it's to the point where I can play outfield again, and you know, may even make a pretty good throw every now and again if I really get a running start on it. You know, janitor throw, something of that nature. And based on what I'm told from guys that have had surgeries like mine, it just gets better over time. You know, whether it's 6 months or 6 years, it's just gradually going to get better and better. That's, you know, coming from Trevor Ezel, who had pretty much the identical surgery that I had.
Gotcha. I honestly, that was an awesome story. I could have sat and listened to. I can listen to you talk all day, dude. But unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot of time. But we have time for a couple more questions. I want to ask you, who did you room with during your time at Arkansas? I really enjoy hearing what players were rooming with who and who was close to who.
Yeah, my sophomore year, my first year at Arkansas, I roomed with Trevor Ezel. I can't say enough nice things about Trevor Ezel. That guy might be the single best human being I have ever met in my life. That guy's amazing. And once again, I can't say enough great things about him. He's now hitting coach at Southeast Missouri State, the Red Hawks. Got them going. Very, you know, real old school guy. So he and I could always argue and, you know, contrast different things. But at the end of the day, like, it doesn't get better than him. My first junior year, the COVID year, we only had, I think, 1 or 2 road trips before the year even ended. But that year I was having Kevin Kopps. He was also my roommate. For the COVID year, we lived together that year, and we also lived together this past off season before he took off for spring training. Me and Kevin go way back. Love Kevin to death. He's great. Another great human being. And this past year was Brady Slavins. I kind of call him my son. You know, it's kind of like we've kind of done like a metaphorical family tree where Trevor Ezel was my dad, and then his grandson, my son, is Brady Slavins. And you know, we make a joke about it, but it's kind of like just growing up and learning to become more mature from examples led by us. And I tell Brady all the time, you know, your grandfather is about as good of an example as there could have been in terms of maturity. So it's more of a do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. but I love Brady to death too. He's a great dude, and yeah, he works hard. And you know, that's the common trend among all these guys that I've been close with at the University of Arkansas, is that they all grow, they all mature over time, and at no point during their career do I have to question whether or not they want to be good or if they want to win. And that's the most important part to me, is at no point in my career do I want to be surrounded by guys that don't want to win and don't want to be the best version of themselves that they can be.
All right, so this is probably the last one for me, but you invited the perfect segue here. You said you live with Kevin Kopps. We had Zeb on the show a few weeks back, and he was telling us that he roomed with him on the road sometimes, and Zeb was, you know, just sitting there eating a pizza, and Kopps was over there just doing sit-ups and doing everything he can to better himself. So Give us one of your better Kevin Kopps stories if you can.
Oh man. Oh, better Kevin Kopps story that I can say on a podcast.
Hey, there's no rules on this podcast. You can say whatever you want.
Lyle Lockhart,
Man.
no rules.
Yeah.
Yeah, no rules. Man, I don't even know where to start. I guess it's kind of a general synopsis. During the COVID year, there weren't many summer leagues that we could go and play in. And during that year, me and Kevin, our room, this year, the year that COVID occurred, excuse me, was the year that Kevin and I lived together, and Lsu Pitching actually was our third roommate, even though he wasn't there as often as Kevin and I were. So it was mostly just me and Kevin. But when that year ended, we didn't really know what was going on. We didn't know what to do. Man, Kevin's the guy. So one time we would go every Thursday to Mexico Viejo, and it was I can't remember, it was either Thursday or Monday, whichever it was. During the COVID year after the season was over, we'd go for Margarita Monday or whatever it was. We'd always go and come back to the house. I was like, we were sitting there, and I'll never forget this. I said, "Hey, Kevin, you want to watch a movie when we get back?" And just casually, he's like, "Yeah, it's fine. It's gonna have to be later though, because I promised my dad that I played Minecraft with him." I was like, "You promised your dad that you're gonna play Minecraft with him when you got home?" And he's like, "Yeah." Anyway, so yeah, of course that was funny within itself, but it gets better. I go on. I've got an Xbox myself. Me and Kevin are friends on Xbox, and we don't play very much of the same games. Kevin's more of a, like I said, kind of a Minecraft guy. But I was like, man, I gotta see Rick Kopps in an Xbox Live party. So I waited until I, was sure that Kevin had joined his Xbox Live party, and I joined. And Kevin's name on Xbox is like Kopps 45, something very generic. It's him. I joined this party, and there's two people in it. It's Kopps 45 or whatever, and Kevin's dad, Rick Kopps. His Xbox Live username was Jort Boss 45. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is excellent." I am in an Xbox Live party with Kevin Kopps and his dad. And Kevin's dad is probably wearing jorts right now, and it's 10 p.m. That's just kind of Kevin and his family dynamic. But that year we ended up playing a little bit of time in this Perfect Timing League in Northwest Arkansas that had a broad variety of people. You had anyone from some high school seniors that are at Harbor High School to you're facing Caden Monk and Kevin Kopps and Peyton Paulette in the same game. So that was an adventure. And after that ended, Kevin and I went to the Coastal Plains League in the Eastern United States, and we ended up playing for the Martinsville Mustangs, and that was an adventure. We ended up traveling together across the country. We both drove. What was great is we both showed up like in the middle of BP to one of their games that had already started this season, and we both showed up pretty late, and we both ended up playing that night. They're like, "Hey, y'all got here. We need help." I ended up pinch hitting in the seventh, and Kevin came in later in the game and pitched it after driving like 7 hours that day. Just stuff like that. Me and Kevin, man, it was great.
That's outstanding.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, we definitely have to have you back on the podcast, because we didn't get to half of our questions, and I want to hear more from you. So, I mean, we know that you're going to be with this new team. You might have less free time, but hopefully we can get you on later on, man.
For sure, I'd love to be there.
All right, Matt Goodheart, thank you so much for your time, dude. We really appreciate it, and we wish you the best of luck on your new journey with this team.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on. It was a blast.
All right, man.
You're listening to the Diamond Hogs Podcast with Mason Choate and Robert Stewart.
And a huge thanks to Matt Goodheart. That story about Rick Kopps.
Jort Boss 45.
Jort Boss 45. That was just awesome. Kevin's like, "Hey," Matt's like, "Do you want to go watch a movie?" And Kevin's like, "Yeah, but I got to play Minecraft with my dad first." That's just like a power move. And then after the interview, he texted me like right after we finished recording, and he's like, "Dang it, I have a better Kopps story." So we're definitely going to have him back on.
Stay tuned later in the year for part 2 with Matt Goodheart.
And then later on in the day, he sent me a video of Kevin spraying buttermilk on his moss. So take that with what you will.
Crafter, Golden Spikes winner, gardener, Jort Boss 45's son. What isn't Kevin Kopps?
We got to have Kevin Kopps on.
I know.
We got to have him on. We will get him on if that's the last thing we do on this podcast. That will be something that we do. But Matt Goodheart was brought to you by the Encore Group. Very thankful for the Encore Group for sponsoring our guests and our weekend MVPs. So by now, you know our friends at the Encore Group. I say this every time, but Matt Grissom and his team, I mean, they have so much experience selling homes for top dollar in the shortest amount of time. Do you really want to spend a long time trying to sell your home? Like my mom just had to sell her house. She's having to sell her house right now. She put it on the market. I don't know if she used the Grissom team. I probably should have told her to use the Grissom team. Dang it.
She probably spent too long if she didn't.
I don't think she sold it yet, and I feel like if she used the Grissom team, she probably would have sold it by now. So that is her issue. And if you are having trouble selling your home, or if you need to sell your home, you go to the Grissom team. They help you get your home show ready. They hire above and beyond. And, they hire professional video and photography. Sorry, I read the wrong line. And they also create custom signage and much more. And then by doing that, they're going above and beyond. That's what I'm saying.
Of course.
So don't settle for a Zack Gregory bunt when it comes to selling your home. Call the Encore Group for a Braden Webb Grand Slam. How about that? But Zack Gregory bunts are good. But in this situation, when you're selling your home, you don't want to play it safe and go for a bunt. You want to go above and beyond.
Hit it 440 feet.
Hit it 440 feet, drive in 4 runs. So for more information or to receive a free property valuation proposal, visit sellingarkansas.com. Okay. If you can't make it to the game, any of the games this weekend, go to Barley and Vine, 113 West Central Avenue, Suite 103 in downtown Bentonville. I've had some people say, hey, where should I go to watch the game this weekend? Barley and Vine. That's the best place. They'll have it on. I think Friday night's game is on national TV, right?
It's on the SEC network. That is correct, and that's game 2.
One's on ESPN too, isn't it?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, either way, if it's on national TV, they'll have it on at Barley and Vine, and you should go watch it there. If you're not able to make it to the ballpark, yeah, you're right. Where did I see an ESPN2 game? Oh, that was Ole Miss. Sorry.
Different series.
I was looking up ahead. Okay. Yes, Barley and Vine. Go visit them. You can get the food from the first seat. You can get great drinks, 32 beers on tap, several more in cans and bottles. They have wine, red, white, sparkling, more by the bottle, and you can play games too. So Barley and Vine.
Great vibe up there. Also, thanks to our friends at Toll Sports Management, who represent athletes looking to make their mark both on and off the field, from the NCAA to Major League Baseball. Toll Sports Management knows what it takes for full athlete representation, branding, and marketing at every level. Mackenzie Toll, the founder and athlete agent, currently represents 5 Razorbacks. You know them. It's Michael Turner, Braden Webb, Heston Toll, Isaac Bracken, and Matthew Magre. So Toll Sports Management has partnered with a manufacturing and design company for each player, all 5 of those guys, to use their name, image, and likeness to create personalized apparel. That apparel can be found at storefrontier.com/tollsports. Purchasing your favorite players' gear not only supports them athletically, but financially as well. All those players, they receive a percentage of those sales. So big shout out to Toll Sports Management for the work that they do and for sponsoring our podcast.
Yes. Thank you to everybody who sponsors our podcast, and thank you to everybody who listens. Before we go, I do want to remind you that Tennessee lost to Tennessee Tech.
You were I dare say exuberant about that.
So I posted this on Twitter, but I was indulging in so much Tennessee lost to Tennessee Tech content that right now my Twitter page is just like flooded with Tennessee baseball content.
Did you see the tweet a few weeks ago when they extended their win streak to 23 or I don't know what, but one of their players, I think it was Jordan Beck, said, we could be playing with wood bats and it wouldn't matter. And then they play with wood bats in a minor league ballpark and they lose.
Yeah.
I understand, it doesn't really matter, but it's kind of funny.
The funniest part about it was they played in a minor league ballpark. They had 8,500 people there.
It was record attendance,
which was record attendance for the minor league ballpark because they can only fit 4,000. And
Or was it for Tennessee? I think it was just for a Vols game. I thought it was just record attendance for a Vols game.
It might have been, but they can only fit like 4,000 in Tennessee's
and Lindsey
ballpark.
Nelson. Yeah,
Lindsey Nelson. So it's just embarrassing that they have to play in a high school ballpark, and then you have Arkansas over here playing in better than a minor league ballpark. So it's embarrassing. Tennessee, you lost as the number 1 team to an in-state team. Imagine losing to an in-state team.
It couldn't be Arkansas.
Could not be Arkansas yet. I mean, they still got games. They're not going to lose. They're not going to lose.
They do. But at the same time, I'm sure Tennessee would much rather lose that game than lose to whoever they're playing this weekend.
Yeah. Whatever. You lost, though. You lost. They had only lost 1 game on the year to a top 25 team, and this is what you lose? This is your second loss?
I saw a stat, I think this morning, where I think the last 5 Tennessee losses have all come at neutral site.
Really?
Yeah. So that was at the Smokies ballpark, AA, I think, the Cubs AA affiliate. The one before that was wherever they played Texas, in the Shriners Classic, maybe in Houston. 2 before that came in Omaha, and the one before that was in Hoover when Arkansas won the SEC tournament.
Sucks for you, Tennessee.
Neutral site's their downfall.
It must be. Anyways, let's wrap it up. I just had to mention that. So Arkansas LSU this weekend, Thursday at 6:30 on the SEC Network Plus, Friday at 6 on the SEC Network, and Saturday at 2 on the SEC Network Plus. Robert, you have anything else?
Enjoy your Easter Sunday.
Enjoy your Easter Sunday.
And we'll talk to you on Monday.
Yes. Goodbye.
You've been listening to the Diamond Hogs podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Choate Mason and at DRStew32.